One of the nice things about having been on the vendor side originally is I got to experience the worlds and cultures of many different health systems throughout my career. I wasn't stuck in one particular place. I didn't see just one thing. I got to touch a lot of different places, and I got to touch a lot of places in many different types of settings. What kinds of problems were we here to solve? Was it a revenue cycle issue? Was it clinical optimization? Was it even doing a search and selection for a new EHR? That was a big thing back in the day. And I guess to some extent still is.
Yeah.
So there were so many different types of work that needed to be done in so many different types of places. Being a vendor and being a consultant really opened my eyes and sort of imbued me with, I think, a sixth sense as to perhaps, what might work where under different types of circumstances.
Welcome to the Risk Never Sleeps podcast, in which we learn about the people that are on the front lines delivering and protecting patient care. I'm Ed Gaudet, the host of our program, and today I am pleased to have Rich Temple, VP, CIO at Deborah Heart and Lung Center. Did I get that right? Deborah Heart and Lung Center.
Actually.
I'm sorry?
Deborah, actually. Yeah.
How do you say? Oh, Deborah.
It's actually biblical. It's a biblical name.
Oh, Deborah. Yes, it is.
99 out of 100 people would think it was Deborah, but we think.
Oh, yeah, Deborah. So welcome to the program. Tell us about your current role in organization.
Sure, be happy to. Again, thank you for having me today.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Rich Temple. I'm the Vice President, Chief Information Officer, and also the HIPAA Security Officer for Deborah Heart and Lung Center. We're an 89-bed specialty hospital in the wilds of southern New Jersey. And yes, there are wilds here in New Jersey, no matter what people may think. I see them out my window. One of the things that's unique about us, other than the fact that we have really outstanding quality scores in our cardiovascular specialty areas, is that we are one of 3 hospital systems in the country that don't balance bill patients. There's St. Jude's, there's Shriners, and there's us. And what makes that so appealing is that it's really imbued into everybody's DNA that this is what we do. We say there's no price tag on life, and we take care of everybody, and we give them all excellent care if they're in the position of needing our services. Throughout my career, I've always been involved in healthcare in some form or fashion. I started out as a bill collector, actually, believe it or not, for overdue hospital bills, and then I was presented with the opportunity to reacquaint myself with the world of computers. I'm dating myself here in a big way. And I got to inject technology programming and data modeling into a solution that would identify third-party coverage information for hospitals who may not have had it. It was run automated. It processed thousands of records on tapes back in the day. And I never looked back. I just kind of went on from there, right? I think healthcare is like the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can.
I love that reference. Oh, that's the first. I love it. Okay.
You're in, and I've sort of combated from different angles over the course of my decades in the business. I was a provider. I was a vendor. Then I was a provider. Then a consultant, and now I'm back on the provider side again. So, real exciting stuff. Like I said, it's very. I have no desire to get out of it, but it really does sort of suck you in and just consume you because it's just something which is so impactful and ever changing and ever fascinating.
Yeah. And that shared mission is unlike any other industry. We're all patients. We all know patients. And it becomes personal. And having that shared mission between providers and the ecosystem, whether you're a vendor or you're post-acute or you're a consultant or providing some level of service or product to healthcare, it really matters, and it's unlike any other industry I've ever worked in.
It really does. I mean, that's everyone who's working their magic here within healthcare has to be able to wake up in the morning knowing that they made a difference in some way, positively in somebody's life the day before.
And I noticed, like you said, you'd spent time as a vendor over a decade. You were at McKesson for a while. How does that prepare you? And what perspective did that bring you, basically, or give you when working on the other side?
One of the nice things about having been on the vendor side originally is I got to experience the worlds and cultures of many different health systems throughout my career. I wasn't stuck in one particular place. I didn't see just one thing. I got to touch a lot of different places, and I got to touch a lot of places in many different types of settings. What kinds of problems were we here to solve? Was it a revenue cycle issue? Was it clinical optimization? Was it even doing a search and selection for a new EHR? That was a big thing back in the day. And I guess to some extent still is.
Yeah.
So there were so many different types of work that needed to be done in so many different types of places. Being a vendor and being a consultant really opened my eyes and sort of imbued me with, I think, a sixth sense as to perhaps, what might work where under different types of circumstances.
Yeah. That's great. Right. Give you the agility and resilience, right, to look at the problems in several different ways, not just one
For sure.
approach. Yeah. What how did you get into healthcare initially?
Back in college, I started out as a computer science major, and then I took a programming class. I did well in that, and then the next class they gave me was machine language, assembly language rather.
Assembly, yeah.
But I did that for all of 2 weeks. I had no idea what they were talking about, so I went and got a poli-sci degree and went to grad school, but never got far away from the idea of technology. But healthcare and technology fused in my mind because I had gotten a job working in hospital collections. And then I had the opportunity to work for a company called HMS, which was the company where they would maintain databases of third-party insurance information. And we'd get tapes from different hospitals that were extracts from their system and pulling it together. And I never turned back.
Yeah.
That became my world, and my cocoon, and I stayed in it.
Cool. So as you think about the next couple of years, what are your top couple of three to five priorities that you're focused on over the next 24 months?
We got lots of priorities
I
here.
bet,
It's very,
I bet.
very, very busy times and very,
Yeah.
very changing times. A couple off the top are patient engagement.
Mhm.
I mean, consumerism really has hit the healthcare space. We've been talking about it for a long time. We've seen it, sort of hit in incremental ways, but it's really hitting now. And we have to be able to provide a mechanism for patients and their families to reach out to us in ways that go beyond picking up a telephone and waiting on hold and being bounced around. So I think the term digital front door is sometimes overused, but I think it is in some cases, largely pertinent here. But even just finding ways of optimizing the workflows, even if they
Right.
call in, maybe you can route them and you can route them to a text conversation, let them fill out their forms online or from their cell phones or whatever, and just make their life so much easier. So when they do arrive here, it's less traumatic and less stress inducing for them. They got everything they need done. We took care of them. We didn't make them say the same information 5 different times. That sort of thing. So that's a big one for us, is really making our patients want to do business with us, and making sure that as we have a need to communicate with them, that we're doing it in just the way they want us to do it, not over communicating, not under communicating, the Goldilocks version of communication, just right.
Yeah.
So, we want that. So that's patient engagement's a big one. Of course, AI, artificial intelligence, is a big one too. And that's the tricky one because it's so new. Everyone is trying to dip their toe in the water on this. But we want to be able to find use cases for AI that are going to be viable,
Mhm.
that make sense, that are ethical, that provide accurate information. They don't have bias. They promote equity and certainly fully protect the security and privacy of individual
Mhm.
patients. So we're looking at a number of different potential use cases, both from a clinical perspective as well as from an operational perspective, things that we could do to streamline and automate tasks. Staffing continues to be a challenge in healthcare, not just us, everybody. And to the extent that we're able to do more things with technology through automation, we're not looking to reduce staff, but we're looking to have staff work on the kinds of things that are uniquely suited for a human to do. So that's a real big one for us. And of course, taking advantage of all of the potentially great things that can happen with AI, even something like being able to have AI analyze medical images and maybe see something or recognize a pattern that could lead to something that maybe a radiologist wouldn't be able to see because it was so microscopic, or so buried, so
Right.
that kind of thing. And I would be lying, of course, if I didn't also say that cybersecurity is
No, there it
front and
is.
center of everything we do. We live in a very, very crazy world.
Thank you,
as I know
Rich.
you knew that was coming, right?
I was hoping.
Exactly. How do we continue to keep our users educated on phishing scams, on other scams, on social engineering? How do we also make sure that our network engineers here at Deborah are being able to harden our front door as much as possible, so bad guys can't even knock at the front door, and those that may attempt to, we know who they are. How do we stay ahead of that curve? So, it does, well, and, as we've all heard a lot, it only takes one person making an errant click and really bad things can happen. So
Right.
there's a very, very big human components to our cybersecurity program, but there's also a component that's looking at, managed detection, potential remediation plans. So looking at what's wrong with this picture for behavioral heuristics. So, gee, this machine never sent anything overseas before. Why is it doing it now? That sort of thing. So,
Anything you've learned about getting clinicians to sort of have better hygiene, cyber hygiene?
I think the world around us has contributed meaningfully toward allowing physicians to do that. The fact that you have to do multi-factor authentication for almost everything helps. We have extensive education in terms of phishing scams, in terms of count to 10 before you click on anything. Be slow, contemplative, and deliberative as you're going through your emails. Just don't look at everything and react to everything.
Right.
And some of that's sinking in. And the physicians hear enough about what happens out there if there is a ransomware attack or if their data gets compromised. There's enough real world body of work out there that they've heard about that they've gotten better. So is there room for improvement? There certainly is, not just with physicians, with everybody, but we're finding people are improving. And
That's good.
my department, I was one of the folks there, but my department hosted a booth at a nursing fair for a couple of different days. And we went through and we showed people a fake fish, a fake phishing email, and said, find all the things that are wrong with it. And I was amazed at how well people really engaged on this. So, we always have our work cut out for us because the bad guys are always one step ahead of us and we have to react to them. But I'm feeling like the general awareness and the general receptivity to making small operational sacrifices to keep everything locked down and avoid compromises. I think that's really there. It's getting a lot better.
That's great. You've got a lot on your plate. What keeps you up at night?
We've had incidents fairly close to home, and it really does, not that any of us didn't know the consequences and the egregious inconvenience and the egregious potential safety concerns that can happen when there's an attack, but having it hit close to home, it just reinforces that all the more. So we're acutely aware the bad guys are buzzing around, and we just want to be extra careful.
Yeah. So, tough couple of years for folks during the pandemic. What are you personally or professionally most proud of?
We were able to react warp speed when the pandemic, things that would take a much longer time to be evaluated and to be analyzed and to be reviewed and vetted. We didn't have a choice in some cases, and we were able to bring telehealth live almost immediately. We had a very small program before. We made it much bigger when we had to. And we just did it. Everybody rolled up their sleeves and got it. And everybody did it in as safe a way as you possibly could in the environment that we're in. Everybody was on board. Everybody gave the extra yard. We really pulled together as an organization.
Yeah.
And I'm immensely proud that we did that. I'm immensely proud that I was part of that and I could help. It was a very tough time, but it also made you realize that, hey, we can do this. When adversity knocks on our door, we can do what we have to do to get through.
Yeah, no, I think it was incredible to watch the industry respond that way and make decisions at a pace that just is not. It's just not usual for healthcare, especially
we're not used to that.
No, we're not used to that. Yeah, so that was cool.
That's the bar now, Ed.
That is the bar.
What do you can't turn this around in 24 hours.
It's a good point, though. I mean, did you take back from that experience and make changes to decision making from then?
A lot of what we did to get from point A to point B as our world was collapsing around us, we blazed through, and we had to. I think now that I wouldn't say things are perfectly stable, but now that things are more stable, I think we're, and that's to our credit too. We've learned a few things in terms of how to move things along, but
Sure.
we also now have the opportunity again to do more due diligence on things, do wise due diligence. So we're not, I think we're less likely to go down rabbit holes, and we realize that, a lot of this is urgent. Some of what we're doing now still really stems from consequences of what happened during the pandemic. So we want to learn from what we're able to accomplish on very, very short notice. But we also we don't want to revert to just blasting everything through. We still we're balancing the need to move with the need for due diligence.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Outside of healthcare and outside of IT, what are you most passionate about? What would you be doing if you weren't doing this job?
Well, probably going to a lot of concerts. I'm a big live music person.
Oh, me too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So do tell. What was the last concert you went to?
Last concert I went to was the Squirrel Nut Zippers in Philadelphia.
I saw that. I love the Squirrel Nut Zippers.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow,
That's great. Yeah, yeah.
I run the gamut. I like a lot of alternative stuff, but I also
too.
love going to blues clubs and jazz clubs, and
me too.
and do a little bit of like mosh pit action for a guy in his advanced years.
Me too.
We're holding up our industry here.
I used to hang out at the equivalent of the CBGB in Boston called the Rathskeller.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, yeah. So I spent a lot of time there, and I have the bruises.
Oh yeah. I'm a New Yorker. I actually hung out at CBGB.
Yeah. So. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I saw some great bands like for the first time. The Pixies before they were even launched, REM. I mean, just incredible opportunities. That's great that you got into the mosh pit and you've slam danced, as we used to call it.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
The more colorful side of my persona.
Yeah, me too. I also I love jazz and I love rock and all types of different music and alternative. I've seen The Cure and the Smiths and
nice.
Huge fan. But one of my first loves are these guys. Yeah,
I know. I recognize that.
Yeah, there you go. There. Yeah. So and I've been following when they came together with John Mayer and the Dead and Company, and
I saw that. I saw that a couple of times.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah.
Fairly recently.
You did. Oh. Awesome. Yeah. Yes. How about Goose? Do you know Goose? The sort of the next generation of Fish? And
I don't actually. No.
Yeah, they're a jam band. They're fantastic. Check them out.
Check that out. Absolutely.
Goose.
Pigeons playing ping pong. Do you know them?
Who's that? Pigeons playing ping pong? Yes. Of course.
They're great.
I saw them at Levitate, local festival here in south of Boston.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
We got some overlap there.
We do. Yeah, my kids are my source now for new music. So they just turned me on to Noah Kahan. Do you know Noah Kahan?
I'm going to be seeing Noah Kahan, festival down in Atlanta.
I know the festival. Yeah, I was just
I just got tickets for that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. My kids have seen him several times, and big fan. Like when he was just coming up and played small venues, and
he kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden.
He did. He came out of nowhere. And I remember having my youngest daughter, she just graduated from Stevens Institute, talk about New Jersey, Hoboken, yeah. And so she's like, I got this new guy, I really like him, Noah Kahan. I listened to him, like, it's pretty good, actually. He's got this troubadour sound, contemporary. And she started going to shows, and she's like, Dad, I want to go to more shows. Like, go to the show. Seriously. Like, go to the show. You should prioritize it now because you're never going to get the time back. And she's been following him around. I think she's gone to like 10.
Oh, wow. So she's seriously into it.
It's cool to watch too. Like, but no, that's
the next generation following in your footsteps.
Yeah. So that's good. I was just out in Salt Lake City and I went to see the Tabernacle Choir during rehearsal. Have you ever been? Yeah, it was really, it was just majestic. It was, and it was the music obviously was just amazing. It just spine tingling, but watching them practice in the process for calibrating the choir with the orchestra, and it's just fantastic.
None of those things happen by accident.
No.
You got to see the sausage being made.
Yes, and I've never seen it being made at that level before. It was really, really cool. So if you could go back in time, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
You know, I'd say be myself.
Wow.
25 was a long time for me, actually.
Wait, so there was a time when you weren't yourself, Rich? Come on. I don't believe that.
But sometimes you have to sort of adopt a bit of a corporate persona just to be able to get through the day. And I think that's okay to do, to conform to expectations of corporate decorum, but don't hesitate having people see the real you.
Yes.
I mean, show enthusiasm. I think enthusiasm is contagious. Let people know who you are without, I guess there are obviously limits on that, but by and large, don't be an automaton. If there's something a little quirky about you, embrace it, and just always be professional. Always make sure that your work is speaking for itself. But and have fun in the office as much as you can.
Be Chris Logan.
Oh yeah, there's a good example. He's very shy.
Mutual fans of Chris Logan's. Yeah. Well, I have to ask you this question. I'd be remiss. This is the Risk Never Sleeps podcast. What's the riskiest thing you've ever done?
I think stage diving. Since while we're on that topic, I actually tried that. I tried.
That's pretty risky.
Tried that at a concert in Cleveland. I was watching everybody, and I want to try that. And I ran up on the stage, and I jumped through the air, and what a rush! I'm flying through the air, and everybody caught me and passed me around, and then down. I was like, "This is great! I'm going to go do it again." So I ran back up on the stage. I jumped into the crowd, and the next thing I knew, I was lying on the ground with a splitting headache. I don't think anybody caught me. I think that was
no. Oh, I've never had that happen, but I have dived in, and that rush of that moment where you realize if someone doesn't catch me, I'm in trouble. Like it's just, and then when it happens, it's amazing. Like that feeling of getting passed around.
It hadn't occurred to me that I might not get caught, but from that point forward, it did.
That was probably the last time you.
Yes, it was. It was a rush to be able to feel that. But
well, speaking of rush, you're on an island. What are the top 5 albums you would bring with you?
Boy.
And Rush doesn't have to be one.
Rush doesn't I'd have to have an early Clash album.
The Green, the first one?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, it's great album.
The Stiff Little Fingers.
Yes, I know the Stiff Little Fingers. Yeah.
One I adored when I was young.
Yeah, that's good.
They're possibly my favorite album of all time. Got very little recognition. It was an album by a singer-songwriter called Tony OK, called Life in the Food Chain. It is the most off-the-wall, musically brilliant and off-the-wall album you've ever heard. And I guess there was an urban legend that he had recorded it right after he got out of a mental institution. And I think we're all saying he must have been on an HMO. I think he was discharged prematurely because he still had a little bit of it. It's an urban legend. I don't think it's true, but there's so much mania on this album, and there's so many lyrics. I mean, the lyric sheet has got to be longer than anything you've ever heard. It is a classic, and it really never got the due that it deserved. But I'd want to have that. There are times I just have to sit down and listen to that album end to end. But what else would I? Wow, there's so many. I probably need to have some New Orleans brass band music.
Good.
And I like
that. Good.
And probably
those are good. Those are good albums. I'll join you on your.
There we go.
How about you? Movies? You into movies?
I am movies. Airplane.
Oh,
I'm on a desert. If I'm on a desert,
I'm with you now. I'm with you definitely.
Exactly. Airplane or any John Waters movie.
Oh yeah, John Waters. So great.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I found myself and my brother constantly quoting Airplane and other movies.
Exactly. It's one of those. It's so totally quotable.
Last question before we wrap up. What advice do you have to folks that are coming into IT, coming into healthcare, maybe pursuing a cybersecurity profession?
There's such a need for cybersecurity professionals. I mean, I think of it through the prism of healthcare, but it's not merely for healthcare. There's such a need, and there just aren't enough people coming through. Stick with it. Think of it as something fascinating. I think oftentimes the world of cybersecurity can feel like it's a very forbidding world.
Mhm.
And, you have to know all these acronyms and you have to have the sophisticated engineering background to do that. And that's true for some professions within cybersecurity, but a lot of it is really social in nature, and a lot of it is educating people, and a lot of it is just building good user hygiene and helping people achieve that. So don't be intimidated by cybersecurity. Recognize there's a real need for you. Your skills are in demand, and your skills, the skills that are required, I think, are much more diverse and not necessarily as technically complex as one might think. So don't give up the ghost. Do it and get into healthcare, because healthcare is something that we talked about at the outset is just so impactful.
So
Get
impactful.
in here. What you're doing makes such a difference. You're saving lives. Even if you're not laying hands on patients, you are saving lives because you're helping those who are. And it's immensely gratifying, and do it. That's my advice.
Excellent.
Do
Excellent
it,
advice.
pursue it.
No, that's terrific, Rich. I'm Ed Gaudet, the host of the Risk Never Sleeps podcast, and we've been talking to Rich Temple, the VP and CIO of Deborah Heart and Lung Center. Rich, been fantastic to have you on the program. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, thank you for having me.
And if you are on the front lines delivering patient care or protecting patient safety, remember, stay vigilant because risk never sleeps.